back to the fourth episode of the Measurement Podcast, discussing the leading book, Corporate Real Estate Management. And here today, again, are Jan Gerard Hoendervanger, Jaap Wijnja, and Theo van der Voordt. In our final episode, we look inward at the corporate real estate management function itself. How do you structure the department to be a true strategic partner? We explore organizational design, deciding what to keep in-house and what to outsource, and look ahead at the future competence required to professionalize workplace management in a digital-first world. Jan Gerard, how does the overall organization structure of a company, like machine bureaucracy versus an adhocracy, dictate how the corporate real estate management department should be organized?
Yeah, it's very important to make that match between the wider organization and your corporate real estate management organization. In our book, we use the well-known types invented by Mintzberg, like you mentioned, the machine the machine bureaucracy, but also the professional bureaucracy, like hospitals, universities, organizations like that. And that makes a big difference. For instance, is it a top-down organization? Then probably corporate real estate management will be centralized, and there will be a lot of decisions coming from the top. And they will have a need to standardize and to centralize information. Whereas in a more decentralized organization, like, for instance, a university with all the different schools or departments, there will be more influence or power by these decentralized parts. There will be less standardization. So that makes a real difference. Also, for instance, from other angles, looking at governmental organizations, you usually find a lot of influence from politics. I work, for instance, for municipalities in the Netherlands. Well, we had elections only yesterday or the day before. That has a huge impact on the building project for a new office for that organization. So you have to be aware of this environment, organizational environment, and also be aware as a professional corporate real estate manager or department that you are dependent on that. So you can say we will want to do this in the most professional way. So we talked earlier about this model of Giraffe and how you can professionalize in different stages, but it takes your stakeholders to make that process work. If you are doing it in a very advanced way, but your decision makers don't follow, and they say, we only want to have this very standardized and in a simple manner, it's not going to work. So organizing corporate real estate management, yes, it's very much dependent on the organizational surrounding.
Right.
Yeah.
So what are the pros and cons of a modern sourcing model, such as using a managing agent versus a traditional outsourcing? Jaap, if I may ask you.
Yes, maybe I can make the answer more clear when I say, okay, was this insourcing versus outsourcing? The management agent is more or less a bit of an in-between. But when you look at that, it's a lot of aspects coming together with this decision. It is about the money, yes, but not only. It's also about how flexible do you want to be. And it's about professionalism of the people you work with. When you hire people, they may be better specialists focused on that specific task than when you have handymen who have to do everything. It's about the material needed. Nowadays, you cannot clean high-rise windows anymore with a ladder and a sponge. You have to use more specific, more expensive often material. Can you afford that yourself? Does it stand still for almost a month and you use it a day? That's a bit of a disinvestment maybe. And if it's about window cleaning maybe or cooking a meal, it might be the same story. And then Yeah, availability of people is also a tight spot. It can make you very vulnerable when you have sourced out what you really need to be done on a daily basis. I have been in restaurants of hospitals where you see stuff happen, what you think, yeah, and they want to hire staff for their own. An old story about insourcing and outsourcing and professionalism, the people that maintained the air bridge between the airplane and the corridors at Schiphol, that's a very specific technology to maintain that. They were outsourced to a general maintenance company. And from the moment they were outsourced, that company was a monopolist for Schiphol because he had all the specialism. You don't want to be there, like in that situation.
So a lot of choices to make, and there's, in our view, not one best solution.
No.
And maybe something else to touch on is we talked a lot earlier about integration and the connections you need to make as a corporate real estate management unit with the other disciplines like HR, like finance, like marketing, like IT. And that's also an organizational question. Should it be one big department? Maybe that can sound like a kind of ideal situation if you read our book. But then again, the organizational reality can be very complex. And what I see in practice is that what really helps is trying to make the connections in projects or in programs. There's not focusing only on the hierarchical organization, the department structure, because that's difficult to change mostly, but to find your way in connecting people in program teams, in project teams, and make them collaborate in that matter. And that can really help a lot in taking this integrated approach seriously.
Right. There's a lot of disciplines needed, and it's not
Yes.
a one-man show
Yes.
to do so.
Exactly.
Theo.
Just to add, you see in practice that indeed organizations are struggling with insourcing, outsourcing, because the advantages of centralization can be use of scale, concentration of knowledge, professionalization. But on the other hand, you lose your grip on what's going on, and much knowledge is outsourced, whereas sometimes you need it immediately, and it makes you independent of external knowledge. Well, so in our own campus, Technical University of Delft, we used to have facility managers in every department. Nowadays, we have a central department for facility management, project management, corporate real estate management. And still, we have some people per department, but a much smaller group. And then you'll see indeed the knowledge is centralized and excellent knowledge. But for projects, what you said, then people come in from the departments, and not only the CREM people, but also the facility management and the IT people and so on. So more project-based. But I can imagine that it's quite difficult to make the right choice, and that maybe also change in the long run, dependent of the external context.
Did you want to add something to that, Jan?
Well, I think what Theo states, advocates a more metrics-based organization of this part of the discipline, where you can put in specialists into projects and maybe several projects also at the same time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, outsourcing, insourcing, it's like a wave. It comes back and forth, and every then. So, looking at the future of our present of this profession, which new skills like data science or ESG reporting are becoming non-negotiable for the corporate real estate professional?
Yeah. It's a good question. Of course, it's also for us, it's difficult to predict the future, but we can see some lines or some challenges that are already here or we expect to come. I think, one of them is connected to this sixth stage of the maturity model we referred to earlier. where we say that the psychological skill, like understanding, really understanding user behavior, user needs in all its differentiation, that's a key skill, we say, for advanced corporate real estate management, which it was not. It was really a profession more dominated by the technical, financial skills, etc. So this is really something new, important. I sometimes make the comparison with managing a shopping mall, where it's not enough to know all about bricks and mortar and finance, but you need to know quite a lot even, actually, about consumer behavior. What are the trends in that? Which shops are there now and which will rise and which will go down, etc. So in a similar way, every corporate real estate professional needs to deeply understand the behavior of users and how to satisfy them. That's for one. We talked about stakeholder management, and this requires, of course, a lot of social skills, how to communicate with quite different groups. The boardroom, you should be, you have to communicate there, but also with individual users in all kinds of departments and levels, visitors of the building, etc. The environment, government, so quite a lot of different stakeholders. Cooperate with these different disciplines, so also cooperate with the financials or marketing or whatever kind of discipline. And to add to that, you already mentioned data. Yes, that requires, of course, quite different skills to analyze, to understand how to interpret data and to make sense of that. If you add all that, I think we can easily say that that's not one person anymore. I don't think anyone can have all these qualities combined. So more and more corporate real estate management is teamwork. Teams of people inside the organization collaborating, in many cases, with experts from outside, spread over different departments in the organization. You should be able to get that together. And if you would try to put that into one kind of image, we say that it's a T-shaped profession. So you need this broad skills to communicate, to integrate, general skill, you would say. And you also need some kind of knowledge.
Specialistic knowledge.
Specialistic on at least one part.
Right.
And if everybody in the team has a different part, then together you can combine. Because still, and that's the stretch of the T profile, you also need this deep knowledge about all these different aspects. At least you have to bring it to your team.
Yes, from the T-bone, there's a number of developments, like you mentioned the ESGs already, corporate social responsibility, how to cope with that, the role of a facility manager, a corporate real estate manager as an internal advisor. We will have to take that role just because we're the ones who get all the moves. And we're the ones translating it to the organization. And last week I was at a conference where AI now was a central topic. A few years ago that was the ESGs. Looking at AI, they say, oh yeah, robots are coming up. But you can consider the smart building as a kind of a robot that can use all that it has to support your organization as good as possible. What you actually gather on data, you know which spots are liked and which are less liked.
Yeah. And you can integrate data points coming from the building itself much better as well as part of that.
In my view, the next step could be or should be to use that data also directly for the users of the workspace. Because
in what terms, or any examples that you want to provide?
What I mean is that it would be great to inform people about the possibilities, but also the limitations of the workplace
Right.
we offer them. We come from a time when I started working, making a plan for an office organization, for instance, was not that difficult. You counted the head counts or the formation. And you knew, okay, who is important in this organization. They need a kind of bigger room, etc. So it was quite easy to say, okay, this is the organization and this is the workspace that they need. And it was kind of stable. This is totally different now. It's difficult to say even who are the users of this workplace. Okay, the people working in these organizations, but there are many people coming in and out, interns or partners or flexible people joining the group. And even if you know them all, when are they in? They work at home, they work at other locations. So we cannot say, we talked about it earlier, buildings are too small or too big. And I think it's time for our profession to recognize that, to be honest about that to our users, and to build a different relationship. We come from a time where we say, don't worry, we take care of facilitating your work. If you understand what you need, we will provide that. Don't worry, we will manage that. We cannot do that anymore. So what we need is a relationship where users themselves manage how they use facilities. And we have to inform them with data and with all the information we have. Say, okay, these are the times when it's busy, and then there is enough space, and so that's what I meant by using that data not only for professionals trying to manage and to optimize. We do that already, I think, on a quite a large scale. But the next stage, I would say, is to use that information in our helping the users to more optimally use the facilities.
Yeah, data doesn't do anything if it's not connected to some decision that you want to make, or to something that relates to what you are doing.
And very important decisions are made on a daily basis by the users.
True.
Yeah.
True. Yeah. Theo?
Maybe it's good to link the former subject of our discussion with the T-shaped model, outsourcing or insourcing. If it's very specialized knowledge, it's hardly possible to have that inside your organization, unless you are a huge company, commercial or not for profit. Just to give an example, I know from a shopping mall that they hired a person who knows everything about logistics on airports to translate that into a shopping mall, because it's also where crowds come together. And it should be safe and it should be easy and understandable, etc. So it's a good example of outsourcing particular type of knowledge and get it into your team. And what you said, Jan Gerard, is more and more teamwork. It even goes beyond only CREM. To give another example, in our Delft University of Technology, we used to have, and we still have, a sustainability coordinator. And he's a very wide scope, so he looks at the buildings, CO2 emission and these kind of things, isolation, materials. He looks at food, he looks at the mobility program, and two or more programs, all bringing together different disciplines. That's also, again, about integration, but with a focus on sustainability. And that's when you focus, you can have a much more deeper dive into
exactly. And you can have the similar. Some organizations have people looking at employee experience from all kinds of angles. What is determining the experience of our employees? Of course, some are related to corporate real estate, but others are completely different. Yeah.
And one organization will cope with it much better than another shape or another form of organization, depending on how they tick.
Yeah.
So we talked about the skills of the profession itself and in the future, but what about the future of corporate real estate management itself? What is going to be the future of CRE
Yeah, well, I think we talked about a lot of things that you can apply to that question. So again, integration, stakeholder management. Well, again, this different relationship we have to find with our users. I think that's a key point. The technology. I don't know.
It depends also, I think, about of the available knowledge. To give an example, in the 60s and 70s, integral accessibility of buildings was a hot issue. And quite well organized standards and norms have been developed. There was a book about a handbook on accessible buildings. So we know a lot, and then it's much more easy to applicate it in comparison to disciplines that is not well developed so much. So that's indeed important. And I want to say another thing, but I forgot. We use the term integration quite often. And I think I really believe that integration is going further and further on. But to manage it is much more difficult. So then we come indeed, again, there will be some waves in insourcing, outsourcing, or also focus points. I mentioned before the issue of accessibility. This period, sustainability is a hot issue. Maybe after 10 years it slows down. Health and well-being. It is always has been important, but nowadays it gets much more intense. Also in connection to the war for talent, how to attract and retain scarce, well-skilled staff members. So I expect also that also integration will be key. There will also be some varying focus points.
Yes.
And that's difficult to predict.
Yeah. I don't think matters will be less important. I think we learn a lot when you look at the Jaraf model. We come from far away and we're going wider and deeper at the same time. Luckily enough, data collection, data management is growing at least as fast. I think a bit faster. I hope the complexity of the cram task, which is growing, now we need to be psychologists as well already. And oh yes, we need to know a lot about how the environment works, which is maybe even more complicated than just a person or an organization. How do we combine that? How can we make a building work fitting our ever-changing demands? That will stay the challenge. And I think everything we learn will be stuff that we learn to use every day in the future, learning new tricks besides it.
Still, data will not provide all the answers. No. Because with this expanding complexity and integration and all the things we think are important to integrate, I think we also need more and more clear choices to say, okay, this is what we focus on, this is what we believe in, these are the guidelines for our corporate real estate management. If we don't have that, it's only more and more and more, and we make it. And the risk is that we drown in that complexity and the amount of information. So we need more and more. Okay, what is the focus for our organization? So not in general, that doesn't exist in corporate real estate. It's always about this organization in this stage with these people. What is here the main thing to focus on?
Yeah. So I'm just really curious to learn. Do you think that AI is going to take over our work as a corporate real estate manager?
We looked into that, and there's even a small part in the book reflecting on that, and the answer is no. That's always, of course, a prediction, and how the speed of AI makes it very difficult, even for specialists in that field, to predict. But looking at skills we just discussed, the social skills, strategic skills, decision-making processes, that's not so easy to let that take over by AI, not now at least. yes, we will be helped by AI and already are helped if it comes to analyzing data more quickly. But I think not the most important things where the skills of people in corporate real estate matter.
Yeah, just a very short remark. Rubbish in is rubbish out. I hope we can discern what is rubbish and what not better than something that just eats data and spits out data that is hopefully information, which what AI is doing at the moment. And on the other hand, my reflection also is to the first chess computers, where everybody said they will never be able to beat the grandmaster. But they did.
Yeah. Theo, your thoughts on that?
Yeah. We were talking about integration and making our job more complex, but fortunately there is also some good news. Not only the data will help us, but also modern digital tools. We are talking about AI, but to give an example, briefing, writing a complex brief was manual work in the past. Nowadays, there are companies like a brief builder who digitalize the whole process and also the final product, but makes it much more easy to discover conflicting requirements. It's quite easy to discover repeating requirements, and also to use the knowledge of one building in the following up buildings, and that speeds up the process, of course. And in Campus, there are many Campus tools now also to measure data and also to take the next step, what to do with it. Rubbish in is rubbish out, but they are very aware of what they can do with the data. And that is things that are sometimes missed. People are sometimes collecting huge numbers of data without making a plan what to do with it.
So I'm just really curious to know who are we building all these buildings for if AI is taking over so much of our jobs in different parts, right? We have
What we, I think, can assume from this trend, if it comes to the users of buildings, that more and more the simple tasks will be outsourced to AI. So the people working in the buildings will need the social interaction, I think, more and more, and also the places to focus. And so the human needs, we talked about that before, I think become more and more important.
Right.
Yeah, but on a huge portfolio level, not only linked to one organization, but on national level, worldwide level, you're completely right. When hybrid working started, people said we don't need any offices anymore. Now, that was not nonsense, of course, but we need not so many square meters anymore, and we need better square meters. And AI, I think that it indeed will change the more operational processes. That means that people will be fired. Concrete example, last week my son heard that 25% of his colleagues had to move. But maybe some other firms startups are quite interesting. So on a large scale level, there will be a shift from one building to another building, or maybe if you have a shrinkage in one building, you can use maybe part of the building for startups or external employees. And that also means to be more effective because you have more exchange of knowledge workers within one building, and it's more efficient.
Yeah, so we will see then probably more blurring of boundaries between organizations and what I talked before, the predictability, and say, okay, this is our user group and this is our corporate real estate. That's becoming even more difficult to match, and then you need different processes for that.
Well, it's interesting times, so to say, and not only still in a very young profession with corporate real estate, but already a huge expansion of knowledge brought together in this book, Corporate Real Estate Management. And I just want to thank you guys for this podcast. One closing question for our listeners, our audience is, of course, is our current corporate real estate management or facilities organizations structured to merely manage the status quo, or is it empowered to strategically improve the workplace every single day. Thanks again, gentlemen, and looking forward to seeing you maybe once more on this Measurement Podcast. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Measurement Podcast. We hope these insights from the Corporate Real Estate Management book will help you look at your own work environment with a fresh and strategic look. For more information on how we use data to optimize your workplace, please visit measurement.io. Remember, a building is merely a container, but a thoughtfully managed environment is the engine of your organizational success. By seamlessly aligning strategy, people, and real estate, we create the foundations for growth and well-being, improving workplaces worldwide.